Welcome to the first ever episode of the No One Buys Rotten Food podcast, where we explore all topics related to becoming more competent and confident so that you can attract genuine relationships and live a meaningful life. My name is Mario Augsburger, and our first guest today is my good friend Tina. Tina works with me part-time doing virtual practice dates with our clients. She's also a professional painter and holds a master's degree in theater arts. We started our discussion a little bit nervous because we've never done a podcast before, but after a while we managed to cover a wide range of topics, including where to meet people you're compatible with and get them to approach you. The best way Tina ever got approached by a guy. We discuss what both of us learned through living abroad, including cultural differences in dating, reliability, and respect. Tina talks about her experience with spirituality and how she got her Colombian peace pipe. What common beliefs about relationships she disagrees with, and something Tina calls the bonus of the tits. We also discuss how to let go of your insecurities, and we even tell a story about how Tina changed my client's dating life within only 30 minutes. We cover topics like, do women like nice guys, what most guys get wrong about women, and so much more. So without further ado, please enjoy the first ever episode of the No One Buys Rotten Food podcast. Tina, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Hey, Mario.
I'm very happy you're here. So I thought we'd just get started with the question, how did we meet?
How did we meet? That's a good question. We met actually in Colombia, beautiful Colombia in South America. We were both traveling, and I was living in a small, beautiful village named Finlandia, and you happened to be here at the same time I was living there. And then someday you were just sitting in my living room.
How did I get into your living room?
It's a good question as well.
I appeared all of a sudden. It was just like, bam, I was in the living room.
How did you got in my living room?
We're going to teach you that skill at some point.
That's the super tricks. How did you get in my living room? Well, first we met over a friend of ours, more or less. And we went to a place where you can eat chicken. And then we went right from the chicken place to my house? I can't remember that good.
I don't remember either.
Were we at the same evening there, or was it another evening we were?
I don't remember the chicken thing. So our other friends always talk about the chicken thing, and I just never remember the chicken place.
Can't imagine.
But so what I remember was that your friend was working in a hostel, and we went to the hostel, and she was working there, and then we went, and she said we should visit this one place that I don't remember what it was called, where you go up and you see the whole place.
El Mirador, yeah.
Yeah, and we went there, and after that we went to your house, but I don't remember the chicken place, but it was something like that.
Can't be the first. The first time we ever met was in the chicken place. Definitely.
Was it?
I'm 100% sure about that.
That's great. So what brought you to Colombia?
First I wanted just to travel, open my horizon, learn Spanish, get to know new persons, develop and grow. And then Corona came around and I stayed there way longer than I had planned.
Way longer than you were allowed.
That has nothing to do. But everything is, the migration knows everyone. It's fine. I paid my stuff. I'm not illegal anymore.
In Colombia, it's actually really nice because you can just talk to people and they're not very strict when it comes to.
Yeah. I was very lucky with the persons in the migration who were occupied with
flirting with you.
Yeah. They're Colombians. What do you think? Of course, there's always flirting. Colombians.
So, do you think if you were a guy, do you think they would have treated you the same way?
No, definitely not. In Germany, we call that the bonus of the tits. Every woman knows about it.
So, did you notice any differences between dating in Colombia and also making friends in Colombia compared to Germany, because you're originally from Germany, just like me. So that's why we're speaking German sometimes. So yeah, did you notice any differences?
Well, just culturally, men and women are very different in the way of approaching each other, in difference from Germany to Colombia. Because, for example, in Germany, I just speaking from my point of view as a woman, right? Men have a lot of respect, which is a good thing, right? They have a lot of respect to women, but sometimes it's too much that they actually don't ask you out or want to get to know you or look for you. And in Colombia,
they don't show you interest.
Yeah, but because they're afraid and too respectful sometimes. And in Colombia, it's the other way around.
So they're disrespectful?
I don't. How do you say? In Colombia, they're just more direct. And if a man likes you, he just approaches you and asks you out. And in Germany, that don't happen that much. So they have maybe more, not more self-esteem, but another way of approaching women. I wouldn't say that Colombians have less respect to women, but they have, it's more in their culture to flirt and to mingle and to, you know what I mean? Can't put it good in words.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's like, I'm just wondering if it will still pick up the sound when you're back there. That's why I'm like,
what do you saw from the men's perspective?
The men's perspective.
Yeah.
What do I say about Colombian women compared to German women?
Okay, their approach towards dating.
I generally think Colombian women, they take a lot of care of their appearance generally. And I think they're also very feminine. The way they move, everything is very feminine. I'm not saying German women can't be feminine, but I think a lot of times, and that might be because of feminism, or I don't know why that is, might be something else. Maybe you have an idea about that. They don't really go into their feminine side as much. So they kind of, I don't know, they don't take care of themselves so much, of their appearance and all that, and behave sometimes a little bit more like men, maybe even.
Yeah.
But the one thing I like about German women, for example, is that they're very reliable, which is it's very difficult to find someone to date that's reliable in Colombia. That's what I've noticed. So they might tell you, oh yeah, of course I want to meet you. And then you are there and she just doesn't show up, and she might come an hour later or maybe not at all.
Yeah. Punctuality is another thing, another topic.
It's just a nightmare.
It is.
Yeah. Are the guys like that too?
Yeah, of course. Colombians just, no, it doesn't. No, that's not true. There were some Colombians who are super punctual, but the majority is just like, if I don't come now, I come in half an hour and it won't matter. Yeah.
So what are some big lessons you've learned living abroad? Because I noticed for myself, because I've been living in all sorts of countries over the last 10 years, and that really shapes you. It really changes everything. So what is it for you that you learned?
I learned that you never should judge people on their outside appearance and their cultural background. And that you always need to, how do you say it? You always need to approach persons without judgment. Even though in your mind, you always judge people if you want to
automatically judge.
Always, but not go into it. Because I learned so many times I thought I met persons and I thought, hey, cool person, or the other way around. I said, oh, this person is horrible. And then it was completely the other way around. Just be open, mindful. And that we are, as Germans or in Europeans, are really, really, really privileged. We are super privileged. Like for us, all the doors are open, just always. And then with my Colombian friends, it's just the doors are closed, or it's way harder to travel and to be, I don't know.
Do you think the people in Colombia, because some doors are closed or it's sometimes not as safe or as structured, everything and so on, do you think because of that they appreciate things more? in life? Because that's a feeling that I got.
Yeah. Well, they get more joy out of their life.
Mhm.
Because we Germans, we are always meckern. We are always complaining. We have such a good life. We have such a good standard in life.
And that's why we complain
and
about
that's
everything.
But we complain about every shit. And Colombians have normally we have a higher standard in just the main
Higher
living standards, and they still approach life more grateful, more happy. They just look what they have. They live more in the moment. They don't complain all the time. They complain as well, of course, but not that. I think these Germans always search. We have something sometimes too good. So we have like those luxury problems,
Yeah.
And they are more appreciative of, because they have luxury problems as well, but
not everyone.
Yeah, they're more grateful to life.
Yeah.
I guess.
They live more in the moment as well. That's what I've noticed. And I think sometimes that's a good thing. And sometimes it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because obviously if you only live in the moment and you don't ever plan for the future, then the future is just very, unpredictable, uncertain, and a lot of chaos can happen. But at the same time, if you only predict things all the time, well, you're never actually enjoying the moment. And I think that's a problem that we have in Germany.
Exactly. Yeah.
And also because there are no real problem, no strong problems. It's almost as if people get bored and they want a problem, so they create a problem and they talk about topics that are not that important, actually. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I find it funny how you always go back and forth. It's interesting. This is actually the first podcast episode, so we only got one mic, but we wanted to not be perfectionists, because I think it's extremely important when you start something, doesn't matter if it's approaching women or starting a business or anything, to just start and then later figure out the details and become a bit more detail orientated, right? And perfect. But you shouldn't just start with the intention of straight away being perfect. You should just start doing something.
Yeah, we were just right now, just 5 minutes before we started recording, we were just fucking our own minds up, just thinking too much how it could be more perfect. And so no, just start. Yeah. It's the first podcast.
And I mean, I'm gonna admit I'm more nervous than she is. Like, I think it got a little bit better once we started, but before I was just like, doing exercises, breathing exercises and so on. But that kind of almost makes it worse because you start thinking too much about it. But that's the lesson, right? You just have to start things and then later figure it out. And
learning by doing.
I feel like that's a big issue with guys often when it comes to women, because they just think they have to know exactly everything about women, what women desire, about female psychology and everything before they can talk to women. Is there a female equivalent for that?
Of course. I think, do you think women or men are more overthinkers? I would think women are more overthinkers than men. Or maybe same.
I don't know. I would say men are more.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what?
Women are overfeelers.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
depends.
How dare you? How dare you?
We're going to get banned now from YouTube
my God.
for saying this.
Say all women are the same. Oh God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
No, but what was the question?
Oh, now she's more nervous than me. That's good. No, that's good. We threw her off.
Yeah, you did.
What was the question? I mean, if there is a female equivalent.
Yeah. Well, it's the overthinking. I think this is, but it's not the women equivalent. It's just being perfect, just wanting to be perfect, want to have a good first impression, and I think everybody, doesn't matter if it's women or men, you are always like kind of scared of what the other person is thinking of you, how they see you. If what's the sentence I said or this joke I just told? Was it too much? Did he love you? You always overthink afterwards.
Do you have anything you do when you notice yourself overthinking?
I try to calm myself down and try to ground myself in the moment. So to get out of my intrusive thoughts, I do have some things. I can search for 3 round things in the room. Or, I don't know, listen, what are you hearing right now? 3 things you can really hear right now and stuff like this.
Ooh,
so
I got that from an ex-girlfriend, actually, a
so I got
psychologist
out
that
of
was
out
doing
of this intrusive thoughts and just being in the moment, and don't overthink. Don't think about what you're now, how you're, wie heißt das, wie man wirkt, how you're
coming across.
Yeah, how you're coming across to another. It doesn't matter if it's just natural selection. If the person doesn't like you the way you are, go for it. Have a good life. You know what I mean? Just don't.
So
you're blocking yourself sometimes with that. That's the thing. So try to get back to the moment. Out of the thoughts.
Very true. There's actually something that I always teach to clients, which is don't try to stop thinking too much. Like, don't try to stop being self-conscious and just stop overanalyzing.
Yes.
Because if you try, it's like the pink elephant thing. If you try not to think of a pink elephant, you will think of a pink elephant, right? So instead, focus on something else, right? That's what you said as well. So when it comes to social environments, one thing you can actually do is especially when it comes to dating, you can have a list of things that you're looking for in people and that you have to figure out about them. So that you go into the interaction trying to figure out those things. That's your exercise.
And you have a little map you can have something to hold on. That's good.
Yeah. And that automatically makes you think about them. And if you're thinking about them, you don't have time to think about yourself. And if you don't have time to think about yourself, well, then you cannot be nervous about yourself too much, right? So, for example, in this podcast, I'm trying to focus on you right now because I'm nervous because it's my first podcast ever. So I'm just trying to focus on you and getting information from you. And that kind of makes me less nervous automatically, which is quite cool.
And a good trick I have always, as well as to overthinking, because I get myself doing that as well. If you're in a conversation, you're listening, but in the very moment, you're at the same time thinking what you can answer, you know? So you are more thinking about the answer you can give than actually listening to the thing the person is saying.
Yeah.
So instead of just thinking, instead of waiting to respond, just listen.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think this
happens
to me a lot.
Or instead of looking at the questions I wrote down and having to have it perfect and whatever, just listening, and then I'm naturally going to be curious about what you have to say, and then I come up with new questions, or I have something to say or whatever. And then sometimes there's nothing else. I'll go back and I'll just look at this and maybe come up with something. Now, there's another thing that I find really interesting, which is externalizing. Have you tried that? Do you know what I mean?
Well,
so what we've been doing right now, actually, by me being nervous and telling that I'm nervous, by me telling that I'm nervous about this podcast and all that, I'm becoming less nervous. With toxic shame, it's always this thing of hiding. You're always trying to hide your insecurities. But now I'm actually telling you my insecurities.
And that makes you even more sympathetic. So,
exactly. That makes other people connect with me. And because everyone has insecurities, and that makes me automatically just let go.
That's a good thing.
And not be as nervous anymore.
Well, you're always nervous, but at least less
nervous.
less nervous.
At least maybe for 20 seconds less nervous.
Just distract yourself somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Point. Yeah. Do you have anything more to add about Colombia?
Well, we can do a whole podcast just about Colombia. You live there as well, so you know.
Tell us about your peace pipe.
My peace pipe.
I had to Google this word because I only know the German word for it, and I didn't even. I don't even know if it's called peace pipe in English, but it probably is. It does sound weird, but Google Translator said it's called peace pipe.
Well, even in Spanish, it doesn't call pipa de la paz. It's more like la pipa sagrada de la obsidiana. So the sacred obsidian pipe. That's the actual. That sounds nice as well. So it's a pipe made out of pure black obsidian stone, and obsidian has is a very strong spiritual stone, to say it like in short term.
Mhm.
And it comes from Mexico, from the Putumayo. And I received it in the moon dance. In the moon dance.
Tell us about the moon dance.
It's just like beautiful women and men come together.
Beautiful women running, dancing naked, in front of the moon.
Four nights under the...
Wait, is it really naked?
No. But we could, no, but we have like... Actually, we are trying to protect ourselves from the moonlight, so we have always like fabric over us.
Mhm.
And then we
Wait,
just
protect from the moonlight. I thought that was
because
a
it
good
is really
thing, the
strong.
moonlight.
Not if you're 4 nights under the full moon completely, because that
Okay.
can make you actually crazy or like...
What?
And then you dance under the moon, and then after 2 years you receive said pipe. And this is like actually it's just a helper for manifestation.
Mhm.
When you do it, you just... It's not for yourself, but for other people to help manifest their goals and their dreams.
So it's a spiritual thing.
Yeah, it is.
And what's the origin of that? Do you know?
Well, it's come from Mexico.
So it comes from Mexico,
Yeah.
but like how old is it? Like where how long ago did it originate?
I think before the whole Christopher Columbus thing.
Mhm.
How many years?
I don't know how many, but like quite a long time ago.
Like 14th Jahrhundert for
14.
Is it something?
I don't know.
Just don't, no numbers.
Yep.
Yeah, but before that, I think it was just like the...
It's not a history podcast.
It was their religion. It's like their religion, the indigenas and all the Pachamama and stuff. And then came Columbus, and then came Christianity, and then it got wiped out completely. And now, because spirituality is getting modern again, I guess. And since some years, they refounded and reconnected themselves with their roots. I think it was not practiced a long time because Christianity put it all out, and now it's like back to spirituality. That's the roots. Long.
So you would say that you're a very spiritual person?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Colombia made me.
Colombia. So before that, you weren't spiritual?
Well, I knew there always was. I never believed in God or something, but I always had something. I didn't call it spiritual in that time, but I had some connection with something I didn't know. And then in Colombia, I knew it's Pachamama. It's Pachamama. It was her all-time universe.
But what changed?
Well, in Germany, we don't have these. Well, we have this kind of stuff, but you have to search for it. If you don't know that it's not existing, if you don't know to search for it. And in Colombia, it's just omnipresent. Just the spirituality, all those nice rituals.
But I also feel like it's like most Colombians are not that spiritual, I think, or are more traditionally religious. They're, you know what I mean?
It's like the pendant to hippies in German, or like no, not hippies. What is the pendant for the Germans, for the spiritual persons?
Hippie. No, I don't know. I call them hippie, but
actually it's no,
it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah, it's not everyone, of course, but this is like you can't say that everyone is the same.
But did you remember like a moment where you were like, no, I'm spiritual, right?
Oh,
or like a person you talked to, or something like that, like something that
was more like a process.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a process. I remember my first temazcal, like it's, you know temazcal? Yeah. So it's for the people. It's just like an ancient sauna.
It looks like an igloo.
Yeah, it's an igloo, and you put abuelas, so grandmothers, old stones out of the earth. They put them in the fire for several hours, and then it's like a sauna. So it's like the reflection of the uterus. So when you get an inter, they say it's like being in the uterus again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do they drink?
And there, in this thing, I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Oh.
And I felt like connected with everything. And this was one of the first moments, my first temazcal.
When they do that, do they drink caguana?
No.
No?
Sometimes we took
tradition?
San Pedro and stuff like this, but no.
So caguana is a drink that only women are allowed to prepare.
Is this the nice thing with the piña?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we had that.
Yeah,
we had that. I'm just bad with
so
names.
so that's like also a traditional drink. It's not like it's not going to make you drunk or anything. It's just like a drink, but traditionally only women are allowed to prepare it because it's a representation of what's that called, of the liquid that you have inside when you're pregnant. What's that fluid called?
Fruchtwasser.
Yeah, I know it in German as well, but whatever.
The fluid, the babies.
I think everyone knows what we're talking about.
Fruchtwasser,
the thing that comes when
guys.
the bubble pops, basically, when it
Yeah, when you're peeing it, but you're not peeing. The thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So would you say that your spirituality has helped you generally in life? Like, do you think it's a good thing, always, spirituality? Right? Like, do you think it has helped you a lot? And
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, completely. It helped me in my journey to growth and heal and self-acceptance and self-love and just being connected with nature and just being grateful for just being here and being grateful for the nature you're in and the life you have.
Do you think spirituality can go too far?
Definitely. It can be super obsessive. Sometimes I was in some circles where it already was too, where it's always already like a religion, you know? It's always like you have to do it like this, and there are these rules, and if you don't do this, you're going to die, literally. And if you don't do this, just so many rules, and trying to control the other persons. But for me, spirituality is the opposite of trying to control things. It's of the thing of letting go. So sometimes people are getting too much into it, and then they get like Fachidioten, like they miss the real world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they just kind of like they're too perfect.
Yeah. And then they have this God complex, like I'm spiritual, I'm better than you. You know, I'm higher than you, stuff like this. I met people like this. Not much, because fortunately, you met people like this who
a
think
lot. I've met a lot. And I think a lot of them are not even bad people or something. Like they're actually good people. They have good intentions, but there is something the psychologists call spiritual bypassing. And I think there's a lot of people that do that, which is basically kind of like, let's say they've been traumatized as a kid or so, and they should go to therapy, but instead they're just like pushing that stuff away and say, I'm perfect. I'm so spiritual. And they just don't really want to look at the problems. But I think the people who understand spirituality properly, they stay practical as well. They don't go too crazy and say, oh, we look at the fairies and this and that and whatever. They are practical, but they also understand that spirituality is sort of, it's kind of like how our brain works. Because over many, many years, over thousands of years, or maybe even millions of years, humans have been spiritual, humans have been religious, and so on. That's part of our brain. That's how we work. That's how we make sense of the world. And we have those questions about where we come from and why we're here and all that stuff. And I think that's spirituality, but it doesn't have to go beyond, let's say, science, because I think it's connected.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the same approach. I had a lot of discussions with super spiritual persons, and we met some point. I don't know if it was in my German thing, my love to science, and that we love our numbers and we love our statistics and we love the logic reasons behind stuff, the rational stuff, you know? So I always try to
Colombians are usually not like that.
No, definitely.
Most of the times they're just...
That's why. I had so many discussions with those not too spiritual, but other way spiritual persons and I needed to try to explain how I can still believe that we're in a sun system with the sun and earth and everything, and still believe there's the universe and spirit. Some people can't put this together, but for me, it's necessary. And as well to understand it, it's necessary to understand a little bit the science behind it as well.
Yeah.
And because everything is from your brain.
What I found super interesting is that, for example, in Colombia, they use tobacco as a spiritual plant. And that's a tradition that's super old. So, for example, they have something called ambil, that you eat that has tobacco. It's mainly tobacco. And people do it for all sorts of reasons. But for example, if some wise man is saying something, so you can remember it better. And when you look at the science behind nicotine, right? So tobacco and nicotine, it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't just make sense from a spiritual perspective, but also from the scientific perspective, because nicotine actually releases, for example, dopamine. And when you release dopamine, your brain becomes more plastic and you're more able to remember things.
Look, yeah.
And also, let's say everyone has had this experience of anchoring. When you, for example, you smell something in a particular situation, and then later on you smell this again, then you remember the situation. And this is obviously also based in science, and you can apply this to the same thing as well. So a lot of these things actually, I don't know how they figured them out over thousands of years, but they are actually also, they make sense when it comes to science. Not everything. Some things maybe don't make as much sense, but
but most of the time it's actually not contradictory. You would think that, but it's always amazing when you think, look, science is actually proving it.
I'm going to bring you the microphone again.
Science is actually proving it. This is really, I think that this is very interesting always as well.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I love it too. And do you think spirituality can help people with, especially men, with relationships?
Yeah, I think so, because you connect yourself with yourself and your fears and your insecurities. I think so, yeah, definitely.
And I think also it can give you meaning. And I mean, you don't have to be religious or like super spiritual to have meaning, but I think everyone, in order to be an extremely attractive man and woman as well, but we mainly talk about men, you have to have something that gives you meaning in life.
Yeah.
And this can be spirituality. This could be anything. This could be some sort of hobby or
and
sports, anything.
And I think spirituality for me, like I said before, it's like letting go. It's just like accepting you as you are and the world you are around and just letting go. And I think a lot of women, but a lot of men try to control too much their life and their conversation and stuff. And the spirituality is helping because it's just don't think. Just don't think. Just let it go and just flow.
But then at the same time, you could now take this advice and use it the wrong way as well, because I think this, what you just said, is super good advice. Just let go. But then at the same time, I think every piece of advice has to come in the right moment to the right person. That's why I think coaching is, for example, much more useful than just watching videos or reading a book or something, because one piece of good advice for one person might be super bad advice for the other person. So for example, in this way, letting go might be super good for a typical German that is always rationalizing everything and trying to plan everything. But maybe for a typical Colombian, very spiritual person,
we're pushing on the Colombians, poor guys.
No, I mean, they're great. I love them. That's why I always go back to Colombia. I love Colombia. But that's the thing. Like, maybe sometimes for them, for a typical Colombian, not saying everyone, it would be better to actually have some sort of structure. So there's something that I actually like, a saying that I first didn't like, and then later I started to believe it's true, which is discipline equals freedom. And I think this doesn't always apply, but it often applies, because if you, like, a lot of times we don't want to be disciplined, and because we think it takes away our freedom. But sometimes if you have some discipline, that can actually give you peace of mind and therefore some freedom. So I think it's always this kind of paradox
because discipline creates routines, and routines give your head, just like you said, if you do something so often that you don't have to think about it, your mind is has the freedom to think actually about other things. That's right. This is always like,
it's a balancing thing. I think everything in life is about balance.
Definitely.
And I think that's one thing that you can learn from traditions, from indigenous traditions and so on. I think there's a lot to be found there. And I always try to, just keep it grounded in the practical world. But as long as you do that, I think it can help a lot with a lot of things. I had some great experiences over there as well, right?
What was your greatest experience over there, Mario?
The greatest one.
Yeah.
I don't know what the greatest one was, but
the most impactful, which had the most impact.
It's hard to choose, but the first thing that comes to mind is definitely a now friend of mine that you also know, that you've met, Antonio, who is and his wife, Nati, and they're both psychologists, but they also have studied these traditions for, I don't know, 20 years or something like that. So they know all the traditions and combine this with the practical knowledge that psychologists
That's
have.
amazing.
And that was mind-blowing for me. Everything I experienced with them was mind-blowing for me. And also it was like therapy. Like I'm their friend, and every time I went there, it felt like, oh wow, have I just been in therapy for the last couple of hours, or what's happening? And I think that's because they use a lot of these this knowledge from years ago combined with science and so on to help people.
Yeah, I was really grateful for you to showing me them, because they're super. I felt in their presence, it's like healing. It was like you learn about yourself, you learn about them. It was just really, they were just really lovely, amazing people. Because of that, maybe because they have both of best worlds.
Yeah, I think they're not too spiritual.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Most people that are spiritual, for me, they're too spiritual.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's people that are just like, nah, no spirituality, and they just don't even look at anything.
Yeah, just
so
be
I think
open,
it's it has to be balanced, and I think they're a good example for that.
Definitely.
And they really like your peace pipe.
I'm really happy about that.
So Tina was giving us a ceremony actually when we were there. That was cool.
It was my first ceremony actually with
really?
Outside of my circle where I got it. Yeah, that's, it was amazing.
Really cool. And I mean, you deserved it over like 2 years, you said, right?
Yeah. Cool. Well, I received it in the third year, because in the second I didn't felt ready to receive it, because it's a big responsibility actually. But yeah, after 3 years.
But they wanted to give it to you, or?
Well, they just say, hey, if you have already danced 2 years with us and you feel the jamara, you feel the calling of the pipe, message us. And I didn't felt the calling of the pipe. And I didn't felt ready yet spiritually.
I loved it. I was super surprised when you all of a sudden you were like telling them about it, and then you started the ceremony, and I didn't even know you were able to do that. And that was really, really cool. Another thing that I think is super cool about you is your job.
Which one?
tell us about, well, both of the jobs. Tell us about your what you studied.
I studied scenic painting. So just on stages and theaters and musicals, we paint everything which you see on stage went first through the hands of a scenic painter.
That's cool.
So I paint big things.
Okay. And that's also the main thing you did in Colombia, right?
Yeah. Well, there are not that many. The theater culture here in Germany, we have every city, has like 4 or 5 theaters alone. In Colombia, because of the fact that there are not that many theaters, I was like more doing commissions and painting restaurants and coffees and for personal or fincas. It was really nice. It was just another thing, because here in Germany it's in the theaters, which is amazing, but that was another completely different approach. And it was really cool.
I love your paintings, and also I think it's super cool that they take so much appreciation for these sort of things. So it's like you see paintings like that everywhere, and really beautiful ones.
Yeah, and the street art. Yeah. And nobody here, you put a painting in most of the time it's text, but if there really is a piece of art, wait not 1 day or 2 days and there's some idiot put a tag on it. In Comley, they did that. Yeah. They respected more the art, even if it was on the streets and accessible to everybody. I think they respected more the art.
Yeah, what comes to mind is, when I think about this, is a huge painting on a wall in Cali, Colombia, that I remember seeing the first time I was in Cali, and that was, I think, 7-8 years ago. And the last time I was there was a year ago or a year and a half, something like that. And it still looks the same.
Yeah,
And
that
that's
would never happen
7-8 years.
here.
And literally, I remember we're in Stuttgart right now, actually. And I remember in Stuttgart, I once saw this beautiful painting on the wall, and it was new. I because I walked past there every day back then, and I looked at it. I stared at it for ages. I was like, "Wow, this is so beautiful." And then I came back a day later, and they just sprayed all over it. Like the whole thing was completely messed up.
It's just sad. Yeah.
And I mean, I have my theories why that is, but what do you think about it? Like, why do you think it is that way? Why do you think it?
Here in Germany, that people overpaint stuff?
Yeah.
Literally, that's a good question. Yeah, for the street art isn't here that.
But I think it's a general thing of
respect. Yeah.
And so I have a theory, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's just a theory that in Colombia there are real problems. So people have something to rebel against, like especially teenagers. They always want to rebel against something and make a difference. But and that gives them meaning, right?
Yeah.
Because whenever you're doing something that goes beyond yourself, that's what gives you meaning. But because here everything is kind of working, you have to rebel against something. You have to find meaning in something, even if it's super stupid.
Yeah.
So I think they find meaning in rebelling against that, or I don't know, or maybe they're envious of the people that have found meaning by painting or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. That's a good point.
I don't know. Maybe that's just theory.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to bring you the mic again.
Because the cultural... No, I always lean back when you're talking. The cultural thing... Actually, we have... Do you think we have more art here in Germany than in Colombia?
No.
No, right?
No.
Maybe
I think also other types of arts. Like in Colombia, everyone seems to be a singer and all sorts of things.
Yeah. That's right. I don't know. Yeah, it could be that...
Yeah. I mean, it's also that living for the moment that probably makes them more artisty, because they kind of like, they appreciate the moment so much that they appreciate arts more, or I don't know what it is.
And on the other hand, here, like tagging and spraying and doing wall art is actually, if it's not from a big company, it's illegal, right? And in Colombia, it's not illegal, I guess, isn't it?
I don't think so.
That's why as well, because
or even if it's illegal, who is gonna?
Nobody fucking cares.
Which police officer is gonna do anything about it?
Exactly. Thanks for making it prettier here, literally. So maybe this is some involvement to do. I don't know.
Maybe. So what's your other job? Tell us about your other job.
Well, it's not yet, but I'm starting to doing tattoos. You want some?
Maybe. I don't have any, so who knows? Maybe maybe on the bottom of my foot. So if I decide that I don't like it, I will just...
Oh, but I heard it's really painful over there because all the nerve ends are going there.
Yeah, it might be an interesting challenge.
Yeah, I need victims to practice.
And also, I think it goes away, right? When you because
of the hornhaut. Yeah.
Hornhaut. What's that called? Like the thick skin and we're missing a lot of words today.
We definitely know this. We know this
word. The skin you get when you the thick skin, right? You get when you use something a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you got a third job.
Which one? Oh yeah.
Forgot about me.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, because it's just the best. It's so, I love it so much. It doesn't seem
like a job.
I don't see it as a job because it's so actually.
But you literally just did it like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, you're right.
And you already forgot about it.
Yeah, because it's just fun. I don't see it as a job because it's just. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot. It's really cool.
So Tina is actually doing virtual dates with our clients.
I'm the communication manager, baby.
Yep. Yeah, so she's doing virtual practice dates with my clients, and we found out that this just works super well, figuring out the conversation problems they have, because sometimes I can talk with my clients, but not really figure out what how they behave in the moment when they're on a date, because obviously I'm not there.
Yeah.
But when we do this, it's super awesome because we see exactly what mistake they make, and sometimes it's just a tiny mistake that we have to work on.
But
And
which
things
has a good
change.
effect,
Like literally,
yeah.
I remember this one guy that you had a call with, that I think he was always apologizing after he was messing around. He was like saying some sort of joke or something, and then after that he would apologize.
Yeah.
And that was a simple thing. It wasn't a big deal, but he had one call with you. You pointed that out. And then after that, it was just like, we told him, he changed that. And all of a sudden he went on ridiculously many dates.
Amazing.
And I mean, I mean, he found a girlfriend eventually, then they broke up again. And then I think now they're getting back together and whatever. But yeah, things are working out for him. Like he's doing much better than before. And that was just like this simple little thing. I mean, obviously I worked with him on other things before, but that was kind of like the missing little piece. So yeah.
So I would think, well, I'm just for me, it's just talking occasionally to amazing clients of you, you know, but for me, it's not like, oh, this one is going to have a big impact, but it actually does.
Yeah, it does.
And this is really cool. This is really cool.
Yeah. And what would you say are some things that you've learned through doing this?
That everyone has insecurities, and most of the time, everyone has the same insecurities. And if you just give them some map or some guidance, everyone can be able to find love and the perfect person. It's just insecurities, and so like you said, just sometimes some really simple, small changes which can change the whole game. And this is amazing to me, that you can just influence people like that and help people like that.
And where do you think a lot of these insecurities men have around women come from?
From women. From their mothers, from, I don't know, bad experiences. Sometimes maybe from other men as well, because I know from the point of view of women are way harder to other women than to men. We are really harsh under women to women. Sometimes it's another thing.
Oh, they can be really harsh to men as well, though. Yeah. I remember once a friend of mine walking up to a girl that he had to take the courage together to talk to her. And I pushed him. I was like, you can do it. You can do it. He walked up to her and she was just like, fuck off. And he came back. He was so destroyed. And I like, this is actually something to remember. When this happens, a lot of guys, they now make fun of that guy, but that would destroy him even more. And then this is how a lot of guys get traumatized, not even just by the women, but by how their friends respond to them. So one thing that I actually did back then was he came back and I celebrated him. And I was literally like, I was like, good job, man, you did it. Because because you don't have the power to control how she's reacting. Who knows? Maybe her grandma died today and that's why she had a terrible day, or maybe she's just a terrible person. Yeah. But you have the control to behave in a certain way, and he did the right thing. Even though he got a bad response, it was still the right thing to go up to her and talk to her.
Yeah, because with every rejection, you lose the fear of being rejected. Yeah. Actually, the more you experience it, and it's nothing, you won't die. It's just normal. Like you said, you don't know the other person. Maybe they have a bad day. Maybe they just don't want to talk. And with every rejection you get, you see, oh, I won't die. It's fine. It's fine to speak to people. Actually, it's good.
Yeah, and I mean that's one thing. You gotta just take the action. Try not to be perfect, like what we said before, and just figure it out on the way. Yeah. And then just get rejected, and keep in mind you still did the right thing, because a lot of guys they play to not lose instead of playing to win, and that's I think the most important phrase that I've ever learned that changed my dating life, because I was always afraid of rejection and I didn't do anything until I learned that sentence, and then things changed, because basically if you always play to not lose, you're not going to win either, because let's say you're not approaching anyone, so it's not going anywhere. But if you play to win and you approach 100 women and 99 of them reject you and tell you to fuck off, which is probably not going to happen, but let's say that happens, but only one of them talks to you, well, you've won. So that's something very important to keep in mind.
Definitely.
Yeah. So do you remember any interesting approaches from the past? Like what was the best approach ever?
The best approach ever. That's really good.
Oh, one good approach, maybe just.
It was actually from a Colombian guy. And
so now we're giving the Colombians
Colombian tricks, and they were not like directly. They were like just casually, "Hey, how are you doing? Come, let's drink something." And then they just invited me to have some almuerzo, some just brunch with me in their finca with their family. So not like be having this.
But you weren't freaked out by going to their place straight away?
In Colombia, it's a normal thing. That's the thing. In Colombia, it's different. Here in Germany, I wouldn't do that actually, but in Colombia, you do it. And we were because I was in a friends group and he was in a friends group. It wasn't this uncomfortable feeling like, oh, we're one-on-one, and if something happens, because he invited all of us.
Oh, yeah.
With all of his group. So let's get all together to my finca and have just a great time. And we actually had a great time, and it went amazing. Instead of just one-on-one, just like, oh my God.
That's something that a lot of guys forget. They always focus so much. I want to get this girl, like that. They focus they're obsessing about it, especially if they've been alone for long. But it's extremely important not to forget the other people and just generally be a cool person to everyone.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be an asshole to everyone. And then once a hot girl comes along, you're just like, hey, nice to meet you. Then it's false. But if you're always that person, if you're always social, then situations happen. I'm just thinking of a situation that happened the other day. I was in a rural area and I took a bus. And there was no one in the bus except for one pretty woman. And I first didn't even see her when I came into the bus. And I started chatting with the bus driver because that's how I am. I chat with everyone. I'm just social, and I'm yeah. And it was very interesting because after a couple of minutes of talking to that guy, I noticed that she was there in the back. So now she knew about half my life because I told this guy I got an apartment in Colombia and this and that without bragging, just like it was just a natural.
Interested just by listening to you talking to another person. That's
exactly.
That's really
so,
bright.
So
that's
so
really cool.
Yeah, and then you can actually then it makes it super easy to later approach her. Right? Yeah. Because now she feels like she knows everything about you, and it doesn't feel like you were bragging or anything.
And she was like first approaching you because she got closer to get to hear the conversation.
Well, yeah, right? sometimes women actually then start approaching you because they think you're so interesting that she wants to be part of your life. So she just starts talking to you.
The dynamic completely. This is really cool.
Or she just kind of starts, moving closer to you. So it's easy to get to approach her. So you could, for example, let's say this happens at a party. You could, for example, then do that with some guy that you meet. Instead of ignoring all the guys and just looking for the women, you just have a great time. You forget about women, have a great time with everyone. And then now women get drawn towards you. You talk about like the favorite Italian food you had when you were in Italy. And then all of a sudden she's next to you and you're like, what's your opinion on this? Da, 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 da. Boom. Now she's hooked in. Without you doing anything really. And she probably was already listening to your conversation a little bit if you're just a cool guy at the party because you stand out, because no one does that. Everyone goes there. Most guys go there and are just like, I want to get laid. I want to, where are the women? And women see that straight away and get turned off by that.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. And instead of trying to start an awkward conversation with the person, I think it's really cool just letting go, enjoy the moment, and enjoy actual conversations with another person. And just, let them come to you. That's good.
Be willing to make friends with people, and then later on, like build a social circle, because that's very healthy. It is healthy to have friends, and also they might introduce you to other people, and maybe that's how you're gonna find your girlfriend or something like that. Even women that you go on a date with, or like that you meet generally, and they're super attractive, then they tell you they have a boyfriend. Well, instead of just pushing them away, well, talk to them, make friends with them, make friends with their boyfriend, because if their boyfriend is able to get a woman like this, maybe it's good to be friends with that guy. Maybe you're going to learn something from him. And also maybe she has some friends that are also really pretty. And that doesn't mean you're only making friends with them because you want them to introduce you to other women. You can just make friends with them for the sake of making friends with them. But also this is kind of like a side benefit that you get from it.
Definitely.
Yeah. What would you say is one thing that most men just really don't understand about women?
That we sometimes don't want a solution or hear some solution of a problem we have. We would just want to be listened and cared for.
I love this. Yeah.
So lots of time we have this as well. A person, for example, a friend or something is telling you about a problem. Instead of just listen and just letting vent, you always try to find a solution to the friend's problem. But sometimes they just don't need a solution. They just want to be heard.
Or hugged.
And hugged. Yeah, exactly.
That's something that I have tried to do whenever I feel like I actually don't need a solution right now. I just need a hug.
Yeah.
Then I just usually go to my female friends. I don't usually go to my male friends. Sometimes I do. Some of my male friends are good at this as well, but a lot of them are not so good at it. They're better. They're better at solving problems. So whenever I need a problem to be solved, I need them to give me some ideas. That's when I go to my male friends. But I think it's also good as a guy to be able to do what usually women do.
Yeah. And as well, what you just said, we know when a guy is talking to us just to, can I say fuck, just to have
We're going to cut it out.
No.
But you can say it doesn't matter.
If the person is just interested in you, getting you into bed, or if he is really interested in getting to know you. And we will more likely go into bed with the person who likes to getting to know us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So don't try to, just like you said, instead of trying to look for the cutest girl who looks the most bangable, just try to get to know persons.
Yeah. And that already makes you more attractive, because that takes away the focus again that you have on yourself and puts it on the other people.
Yeah.
And then you're less self-conscious, and that makes you more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is something that guys do that you find irresistible, that you find extremely attractive?
When they're aufmerksam.
Attentive.
When they're attentive. But not to me, but for example, I love it. Just the one scene I always love it. It always makes me smile. You're in the tram, in the metro station, and you just got out and you see that the train is already leaving and there's another person coming to running. And there's this man who sees that and is attentive and holds the door open. So the other person comes in.
So you mean
stuff like this?
Generally attentive.
Yeah. Just be, seeing that it's a kind person. I love that.
Yeah.
And then I always like, you're a good one. You're a good one. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
I love this because there is this,
not showing to me, just being a kind person. I love that.
I love this because there's this general thing online that a lot of coaches actually teach this. They say you should not be nice as a guy. And I know what they're saying, because there's also the typical nice guy that is only nice to women in order to get them into bed. But I think if you're nice just because that's the way you are naturally with everyone, not just with her, with everyone, she can feel the difference.
And I think there's a difference between nice and kind.
as well,
Yeah.
maybe.
Being kind.
So
and
maybe
being
you shouldn't be
nice.
nice. You should be kind. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the wording probably doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
It's just like the intention. I think it's about the intention
Yeah.
behind it. So, and yeah, again, you should do these things always. You should be this person instead of acting like.
Yeah.
So it's with everything like that. I think also with confidence, for example. Confidence is very attractive, but most guys, they always try to come across as confident instead of actually being confident.
Yeah, but I think the sentence "fake it until you make it" is actually true. I do that for myself sometimes.
Yes and no.
Sometimes, yeah.
With some things, maybe yes. But I think when it comes to certain things, you know that you don't have your shit together.
Yeah.
So you should actually just get your shit together.
Yeah.
And that would make you more, in this case, confident or so. Like, for example, I actually have the belief that confidence comes from competence. If you are competent at something, you're automatically confident.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, I mean, for example, if painting, if the first time you painted, you were probably not confident at painting, but now you've done it so many times that you're confident at it.
Completely.
Same thing with approaching women. First time you do it, then you do it more and more and more. You become competent, and then you know that you're competent, and that makes you confident.
Yeah.
And I think that also gets hooked together with being traumatized, for example, because if something really terrible happened in your life, for example, women, let's say something happened with women, something terrible happened in the past with your mom or your sister or anyone, then maybe you were like, okay, I cannot trust women. So it's kind of like, or let's say you weren't able to deal with these women in the past. You weren't able to deal with them. So now your confidence is pushed down by that because you're thinking, I might not be able to deal with women. So that obviously takes your confidence away.
Well, you have it imprinted in your unconscious mind.
But if you now give yourself new experiences with women, with other women, that's why it's also so important to get female friends and not just focus on dating. If you now have other experiences with women, or maybe even fix the relationship with your mom and your sister or whatever, then you're now reprogramming your mind. You're showing your mind that you actually can handle women, and that makes you believe that you're competent in this area, and this automatically makes you confident. So I believe always in being versus doing. And yes, sometimes maybe in some areas, maybe you have to fake it a little bit until you make it. Like, for example, if you're if it's your first time approaching a woman in a bar, well, you're not gonna be confident, obviously. So just do it anyway. Just fake it.
Go for it.
Or maybe you don't even have to fake it. Just go there, and you could even tell her, hey, I'm actually super nervous to talk to you right now. That's the externalizing we talked about earlier. I'm super nervous to talk to you right now, but I saw you and I think you're super cute, and I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, that's nice.
What's your name? And now she's like, oh, that's so sweet and that's so cool.
He's vulnerable. That's a good thing.
I think a lot of guys think they shouldn't be vulnerable, but vulnerability is what creates connection.
Definitely. Yeah.
Because if you show yourself vulnerable, that means you're opening up. And if you open up, she opens up. So you should always give before you receive.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to receive, you should just give it.
You can't connect with the person who's perfect because you are not perfect either.
Yeah, exactly. So when a person acts like they're perfect,
it's not true.
You know exactly. Yes, they're not
because
perfect.
Because you're not perfect either,
Especially women, because men always think they can trick women, and they can't.
They can't. No.
They might be able to trick an emotionally insecure woman or emotionally immature woman.
Yeah.
That might happen. But she's a nightmare. You don't want her in your life. You don't want a woman like that in your life. You might think you want that, but you really don't. She's gonna tear your life apart.
Talking of experiences, don't you?
I've had these. Yep, I've had experience in this. Yeah. What about you? Have you had experiences with guys, toxic guys?
Definitely. Hell yeah. My ex-boyfriend
Microphone.
My ex-boyfriend was one of the most toxic persons in the world. But it was a perfect lesson.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for having met him for being the person I am now today. Because without this horrifying, triggering experience, I wouldn't be the person today I am.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you want to tell us what happened?
Well, I was together with a Colombian guy. And I was together with him like 5 years. And then I figured out that he was cheating on me for the last 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit as my fault as well, you know?
How come?
Because I should have realized it some kind. I don't know. But it was the best lesson I've ever had in my life. And I'm so grateful. And I grew so much through this pain, which got me this experience. So it's good. In the moment, it wasn't good, but now I would think I'm grateful.
Would
for
you
it.
be with a Colombian guy again? For the Colombian guys out there, do you still have a chance?
Right now, not, but maybe.
Well, maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you have to recover first.
Yeah, I need to come back.
I mean, they say it takes you around 2 to 4 years to recover, usually on average.
Fuck.
From relationships. 2 to 4 years.
Then it's now
crazy.
1.5
and
years.
more. Usually, it's more towards 4 than towards 2.
Right. You mean psychologically, like
psychologically
the
recover? Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah, that could be. I'm still
because it's kind of the same
by some stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of the same as when you're getting when someone's dying, as well.
Like the 5 stages of grieving.
Yeah.
You go through the same
like
stages, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's the same system in the body and in the brain and so on as well. Yeah. Do you have a type?
No, actually not. I thought I had, but right now after this, my ex-boyfriend, I was like going after. I fell in love because he was such a cool guy. He was so hot. He was so good looking, you know, so charismatic. Oh my God.
He was so
He
Latino.
was just so Colombian and so amazing, you know.
You're spinning her around.
And now, and now I got just the sunglasses off, and now I'm way more looking for the character and the person, how it is, than just the looks. The looks are right now for me just super secondary.
Yeah.
Of course, it's for the first impression and everything sometimes, but right now, I changed my priorities to what I'm looking for, you know?
I think that also happens with experience and with age and everything.
Yeah.
And, Do you think, because they say that, I mean, generally women usually don't care as much about looks as guys do.
Mm-hmm.
But
we
women
still do.
You still do, but not as crazy much as guys do. But you care more about things like, for example, social status. But
let me think about
social status. Do you think with age or with experience you can actually tell these patterns of things like that you just naturally have an impulse towards, but that might not get you to where you want to be, and then you with age and like the awareness that comes through age and experience, be able to just be like, okay, maybe he's super hot, but maybe not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just listen to your belly. I don't know if is this a saying of the Bauch in English?
Yeah. Listen to your
just listen to your intuition, because it's always
gut feeling.
Your gut feeling, exactly. Because before I always had this gut feeling, I was like, always. People always listen to your gut feeling. It's always.
I would actually disagree with that.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that it is important to listen to your gut feeling, but I think it has to be balanced with your head and with your heart. So I think
well, the gut feeling is your heart for me.
It's more down there. It's not the gut.
For me, it's like the mind and the heart. Like, yeah. I don't know.
Comment below what you think the gut feeling is.
Yeah, right.
Who is right? Who is wrong?
Wow. Really
I heard something in a video once by Tim Ferriss that I thought was super, super interesting. You should check it out on YouTube. It's super cool. And he was saying that he used to be super in the head only, and then he learned to listen also to the feelings, so the heart and the gut. And nowadays he actually tries to apply a mix. So whenever he has to take a decision, he asks himself, is this a whole body yes? Or is it not?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a big decision, a very important one, and there is just one of these three saying no, it's a no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if all three say yes, that's a yes. And I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of conflict between these three sometimes.
It is. But I learned, maybe it's for me because I was always too much. I don't know. But I learned I need to listen more to my, because for example, if you approach a person and you have a way weird feeling with the guy, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know.
And you think,
well, you do have to listen to it.
Something is off.
Yeah.
Then you really, not in every situation, but like with really approaching when a guy comes to you, really listen to it, because this is normally most of the time.
Yeah,
Decision-wise making, definitely, I'm with you, but
and I think this is
when
not
you meet persons, the vibes you get from the persons is most of the time, at least the vibes, is the one you feel in the first.
Well, and this is not a spiritual woo-woo thing.
No.
Because if you look at the science behind this, it totally makes sense. If you look at our history, because for the longest time, I mean, if you believe in evolution.
Whoa, careful with the topics.
Yeah.
We don't want to get banned or something.
All right. Okay, so if you believe in evolution, back like in ancestor times, right, when we were apes, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we didn't think so rationally, but we had experiences. Then those experiences were somehow ingrained in our brain and passed on from generation to generation. So probably our ancestors have already had a similar situation to this. So the more subconscious part of our brain signals to us there's something wrong, even if we cannot really logically understand that there's something, like what is wrong.
Yeah.
We just know something's wrong because we had a similar situation, or our ancestors had similar situations in the past, and our body or our brain usually tells our glands to release hormones to tell us something's off.
Yeah.
And that's how we feel those feelings.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, I think we do agree on this.
Yeah. And sometimes on the other hand, if you have like a fear of something and you know you want to overcome that fear, you actually need to search for that unpleasant feeling and then go one step ahead. This is another thing. When this makes you fearful, sometimes it's good to go, okay, if it makes me fearful and excited at the same time, it's a good one. Because getting out of your comfort zone, you know? That's right.
If people are listening to this and think, I really like a woman like this.
Of course
like
you
Tina.
do. No surprise.
Where can they find women like this? Because a lot of guys, they just go to nightclubs and so on.
You won't find me at a nightclub. You won't find me at a nightclub. Definitely not. You
never.
Never. Nah. Well, occasionally.
Maybe once a year or so.
Yeah, occasionally, but for something.
But it's usually also a little bit more alternative. It's not the normal.
No,
nightclub.
It's not the nightclub.
Maybe it's a salsa bar or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like a bar, a cool pub, like something more, maybe a museum or a concert. If you want to have like nighttime, but daytime, I'm like in the park, in the nature, riding bike, taking a walk, reading a book outside, stuff like this. Meeting with friends in a coffee. Where you find me? Yeah. Just in nature. You look at the place. How do you say it right? The kind of woman you want to get. You'll think about where can I find those types of women, and then you go there. It's just really easy, actually.
Yeah, because
if you want to have a bitch in the club, you just want to bang, go there. It's an easy thing, you know.
Well,
but
it's not as easy actually, because usually you don't even connect with her unless you're also like that. Unless you're also this
exactly
super club guy.
It depends on what you're searching for, exactly.
Yeah, but usually if you are, I mean, I would say a decent human being, but just nothing against club people. Maybe they're also
No,
decent human
clubbing
beings. They're
is
just
fun
different.
either. Is as well.
I mean, also when you're
sometimes.
younger, it makes sense. Maybe in your early 20s. I mean, I went to clubs a lot in my early
me
20s
too.
and so on.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think you want a little bit more in your life. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys make the mistake. They just see a lot of hot women in the club, and they also, I mean, they have makeup on, but you can't see it's makeup because the light is perfect for it. And guys get fooled by that straight away. It's actually quite ridiculous, but it's the way it is.
Yeah.
And then they think there are so many hot women, and they go where there are a lot of hot women. But you have to make sure that you don't go where there are a lot of hot women. You have to go where there are a lot of people that you naturally connect with, because this is how you build friendships, a social circle, and eventually this is how you get the right type of women into your life.
Or if you have the hobby and you would love to share that hobby with your woman in your life, go to a cool place where they practice that hobby.
Exactly.
And then you'll find a person who you already have the same connections because you have already one point you agree on.
Now I hear a lot of guys saying, well, but I don't have any hobbies and I don't have any passions. Get a hobby and get a passion. and then they're like, but I don't feel passionate about anything. Then I'm like, well, make yourself passionate about it.
Yeah, you will. Like, everyone has something.
Yeah, especially try everything, just anything, and eliminate them from the list. Yeah. It's like, well, no, I tried this, I don't like it. But try it for a while. Don't just try it for like 2 days or something. Just try it for a while. Get good at it. This is important. And only once you're good at it, that's when you decide if you want to continue or not. Because once you're good at it, you usually start being passionate about something. And I think that's super crucial, because women don't like men who their only hobby is to try to pick up women, and they're on the streets and they approach women like the traditional pickup artists. You don't like women either who only have makeup and alcohol in their minds, don't you? So, I mean, most guys are not that complicated. They actually, I mean, they would have sex with her if she's really hot. Let's be honest. But once you have a lot of choice as a guy, only then, once you have a lot of choice as a guy, only then do you become more picky when it comes to personality and so on. Or also when it comes to long-term relationships, usually guys are a bit more picky compared to a short-term relationship. Like when it comes to a one-night stand, usually most guys will sleep with her even if she's absolutely stupid. Yeah, because you know what you want. You just want to have one fun night and then go for it. Exactly. And that's where men and women are different, and that has evolutionary backgrounds, because you need to spread your semen. Yeah, exactly. You have to spread your genes. And women also evolutionary women wanted to pass on their genes as well. But the strategy to just have sex with a lot of guys didn't make any sense, because obviously they had more risk involved, because once a woman has sex with a guy, she risks pregnancy, and that back then in caveman times meant possible death. Yeah. And also she has to take care of that child until it's super hard, old enough to take care of itself. So basically she had to be way more picky compared to the guys. And that's why women look for different things and not just the looks, because looks are actually a sign for health and stuff like that. Yeah, right? There's evolutionary stuff. And, and that's why guys are like, oh, she's beautiful, I want to have sex with her, because that's a sign for health and also for long legs, for example. Did you know it's because you can run faster from your enemies? Oh, stuff wow. Like this. That's actually so funny. That's actually one I didn't know. Yeah, that's stuff like this, or wide hips. Wide hips for birth. Yeah, exactly. And stuff like this, and also, I mean, big boobs for a lot of milk for the kids, right? That sort of thing. So it all comes from back then, and it's super interesting. And when someone is aware of this, if you're aware of this, then you can actually make better decisions, make better dating decisions, because you know what you react to and you know what she usually reacts to, and so on. I'm actually creating a course right now. What is it about? It's called What Women Desire, and it's exactly about this. So nice. I actually talk about, well, all the evolutionary history and why women desire what they desire. Because once you understand the why, it's very important it's very easy to understand the what and the how, like how you should behave around women, what you should do. Like all these tricks that you find online, all the techniques, they're completely useless if you don't understand why they work.
Yeah.
So you have to understand why, and then you can come up with your own tricks and techniques. And usually you don't even need tricks and stuff. You just have to be a competent man, and that will make you good with women, basically.
Yeah.
And you don't have to fake it.
Yeah, because you feel it. You as well feel when a guy, when there's a woman approaching you, you feel if she's genuine or if he just wants your money. For example, I'm 100% sure in Colombia, you being a German, a lot of Colombians just want to get to know you because of the fact that you're German. They're not actually interested in you as a person.
Yeah.
They just want to get benefits. Not all the Colombians, of course, but they are.
Some maybe, but I most of them are actually quite genuine. They actually really just want to meet this person because this person is different and so on.
Yeah,
And
just because you're the tropical weirdo, because you're from Germany and not one of them. This is like the thing as well.
Next time I'm gonna I'm gonna have to buy another microphone. I've figured that out right now.
So
or maybe take it off and just go like
this couch is just so comfortable.
I would love to do that as well, but no one can see me, you know?
Yeah, they do.
Look,
we just need to talk a little bit louder and it's fine.
Hello. So, what time is it?
We're good. Well, 10 minutes, it's 6 o'clock.
6, okay. So, yeah, we should probably head towards the end, but got a couple more things.
Amazing.
What beliefs around relationships do you have that most people would disagree with?
For example, that I need to articulate this good in English. That people think once they're in a relationship, the relationship needs to last forever. That every relationship is meant to be forever and that it's the end of the world if it's ending. But the most normal thing, the only constant in your life is change. Person-wise, character-wise, just feeling-wise, everything. So it's the most normal thing that that relationship as well develop, change, and sometimes end as well. And it's just a normal, healthy thing. And just instead of being afraid of that moment that the relationship someday is going to end and just block yourself with those negative thoughts, just focus in the moment, appreciate that you're being now in this moment with your love. Just enjoy every second of it and being grateful for all the experience. You know? I won't say every relationship is meant to be to fail, you know? There's possibility, but be realistic.
And I don't think it necessarily means that the relationship failed just because it ended.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was great when it was great. And then it wasn't great anymore, so it had to end. And
so why suffer in a relationship? You both are not happy anymore just because, but we need to be together. We were, no, just accept it.
I think this is really very interesting because I have a lot of thoughts on this topic. And first of all, what you said is actually also biology, because there is a woman called Helen Fisher.
I heard of her.
You've heard of her? Look, you probably heard of Helene Fischer, which is a German singer.
Yeah, that one, right?
I think that's who you heard of. No, Helen Fisher is actually a very famous researcher, and she actually says in her book that usually it's around 4 years that back in caveman times, men and women were together for around 4 years, because that's how long it took to raise a child to the point where it doesn't need both parents anymore.
Right. There are studies that most of the couples breaking up after like 2 or 3, when the child they have together is like 2 or 3 years, that would fit. Right.
It's super interesting.
That's really interesting.
But at the same time, I have this conflict sometimes because I used to think, well, relationships, maybe they should just go that time. Like they should just go 4 years and then end and all that. But at the same time, there's this other way of viewing it, which is a more cultural way of viewing it, I guess. Or it's kind of like what has worked in, like, which cultures have worked well in the past, and why have they worked well? And there is an argument actually that monogamous cultures that have been like with marriage and have been couples that have been married for a very, very long time, those cultures actually have less violence. That's what I have heard, which is really interesting. So that's a completely different view of this, and it's actually
do they really?
That's what I've heard. Now I have a lot of conflict around this topic. It's actually a really interesting topic that maybe we should discuss that again in another session, because I think we are about to run out of time. But I think you should come back. You should definitely come back.
I would love to.
We talk again like this. I really enjoyed it so far. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to add? Anything that you want to say before we come to an end?
Again, to the thing, now I think maybe it sounded really negative that I don't believe in relationships, and that I think just love isn't just a feeling, it's a decision. You need to make the decision every morning. I want to be with that person, and I need to make promises, and I need to make a compromise. And you can make it work if both of the parties are willing to work. But a working relationship is work. It's not like flowers and everything and love. No, it's hard work.
And I actually believe when it comes to compromise, sometimes you have to make compromises, and you have to be willing to make compromises. But at the same time, I think you have to learn to be very good at communicating.
Yeah.
Because if you are very good at communicating, you would be surprised of how little compromises you actually have to make.
Communication is just everything.
Yeah, because oftentimes you're actually more on the same page than you think. Sometimes you think, oh, you want the opposite of me, but sometimes it's not that. Sometimes you just have to dig a little bit deeper and really figure out why this person wants what she really wants, because that's how you... So you always ask why, and ask yourself why as well. Why do I want this? And why do I want this? And then you come to the root of what you really want, and maybe you can find some commonality there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good point.
Yeah, and then you often don't have to sacrifice even then when that happens.
Yeah, compromising is not sacrificing. You always need to be true to yourself. Stay true to yourself. Don't lose yourself in the relationship. It's not worth it. Never.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good note to end on. I was super happy to have you here, and I'm very excited that we finished our first podcast episode.
And we were so
nervous. I mean, you can probably hear that at the beginning when we started. Oof.
No,
especially me, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was really fun. Thanks for having me.
But I think we loosened up.
Yeah,
over time. I think that's what happens.
That's cool.
So yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time for this. And
con todo gusto.
Yeah, let's hope we're gonna do this again at some point.
Definitely.
Thank you.
To you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the No One Buys Rotten Food podcast. To see more content like this, you can find our social media platforms in the show notes below. If you have some feedback for us, or you would like us to cover a specific topic in future episodes, you can let us know in the comment section on YouTube. And last but not least, keep improving yourself, and remember that no one buys rotten food.